Alright, so we are doing the top 5 running backs now. We're starting with Saquon Barkley at number 5. So Saquon is 26 years old, 5 years in the league. He did get franchise tagged for 1 year, $10.09 million. So we'll see what they do after that. I do believe he's worth a good chunk of money. But again, running backs have been low on the value. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how he's translated and what running backs are about to be this coming year and for future years. But I do believe he deserves a big contract for his contributions as pretty much an all-around back. He can do everything, catch, and of course run. But the type of running style is unique, man. He can bring a Barry Sanders with you, but he can also be breaking tackles like a Marshawn, like an Emmitt Smith, elusive like a Barry, and elusive like almost like he could be like a Jamal Charles in a way with some of his speed there. Not as fast, but he is underrated with his speed. I feel like just because of the power running that he does. Um, so he played in 16 games, started all in 16, 295 carries for 1,312 rushing yards, 10 touchdowns, 4.4 yards a carry, 82 yards a game, 57 receptions for 338 yards, 1,650 scrimmage yards with one fumble in the playoffs, 2 games lost in the divisional to Philadelphia Eagles, 18 carries for 114 yards, 2 touchdowns, 6.3 yards a carry, 57 yards a game, 7 receptions for 77 yards, 191 scrimmage yards, no fumbles. He was third in comeback player of the year and a Pro Bowler. It's a guy that's over like not overrated, more like underrated, but also properly rated. I do believe that um, the hype was real, and he came out of college and was a phenomenal athlete already. Strong, just great prototypical back that I would start a team with, and just proved it. But injuries kind of derailed him, and I think just his presence and the way he came back from that injury is very impressive as it is, and I do believe that the future is bright with him. He's still young, he's still productive. Will he stay a giant? We'll see. I mean, that's a question of what happens really with what he's going to happen and with the team, and will Daniel Jones be that true number one QB, or are they going to draft someone else? I mean, there's a lot of questions, but also there's a lot of upside for this team. So I do believe everything's going to work out well, and yeah, I have a good Giants season ahead of them, and I do believe that like I said, I think they're a playoff team, so they have a great roster, and Saquon's one of those guys, man. You got to keep around, and you know he's gonna bring it. I believe he's got MVP talent. I believe he is one of the best running backs in the league. Due to injury, he is number 5, but he can definitely be top 3 running back if he puts his mind to it and continues to work the way he's been working, especially with this year's campaign. Number 4, I mean, talk about an impact player, a guy that's been injured a lot that people didn't know to really draft him in fantasy, to really give him a chance in the league, and they knew the talents there. They knew what kind of player Christian McCaffrey is, right? But the injuries, man, the injuries were kind of derailing his potential and where he could actually go. And then he gets traded, goes to San Fran, and they get to the NFC Championship. They would not be in the NFC Championship if they didn't have Christian McCaffrey. It helps that they have a great roster. They have a great defense. Debo's fantastic. Ayuk's getting there. Kittle's one of the top 3 best tight ends in the league. But overall, you didn't bring Christian McCaffrey. I mean, that's another thing. And that also put less pressure on Brock Purdy, really, just because he can do everything. He does everything like Saquon. His power is underrated, but it's more of the speed. It's more of the fundamentals, and he's a great running back to have, man. I mean, you want a running back that can do it all. This is him. He's just Austin Eckler, just on steroids. And that's all. Honestly, that's where I could put it as. But he is a top running back. Just injuries is the reason why I put him at 4. I gotta see more of this again, and then he can definitely climb up. There's just a lot of great running backs at the top that I can keep switching on and off, and have been switching on and off. But my final verdict is Christian McCaffrey. Just his impact in itself on both ends. He's just put up better numbers than Saquon, and he's been doing it for a while, and he's been doing this type of numbers for a little bit. So, compared to Saquon, he's got more experience and he's just been around more. So he should get the nod for being number 4. Christian McCaffrey's 27, 6 years in the league, 3 years, $36.2 million deal that he still has, and he's going to be San Fran for a while. They need a guy like that, especially with them changing with their running backs and stuff. They got their starting guy, right? 17 games that he played and started, 244 carries, 1,139 rushing yards, 8 rushing touchdowns, 4.7 yards a carry, 67 yards a game, 85 receptions for 741 yards, 5 touchdowns, 1,880 scrimmage yards, 1 fumble. Playoff-wise, 3 games played, started, 40 carries, 238 yards, 2 touchdowns, 6 yards a carry, 79.3 yards a game, 12 receptions, 61 yards, 1 touchdown, 299 scrimmage yards, 7th in Offensive Player of the Year, 2nd in Comeback Player of the Year, and a Pro Bowler. Again, well-deserved Christian McCaffrey at number 4. Number 3, I got Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs is one of those unique cases where you need to put him in the list, man. I mean, what he's been able to do, has been wild, man. Has been wild and underrated for sure. Just because of the fact that he's been so up and down, but he's been the consistent offensive player for the Las Vegas Raiders this whole year. Definitely showed a lot of potential and a lot of just superstar talent. And for him to get kind of a lousy contract, in my opinion, of a franchise tag is very concerning and sad again for running backs. But at the same time, we'll see what the level of impact it is. He's going to be very impactful this year, I believe, if he continues and does not get injured like he's been doing the past couple of years. Another guy that can win another rushing title for sure. So Josh Jacobs, 1 year, $10.09 million franchise tag, 25 years old, 4 years in the league, superstar written across the whole time. 17 games played and started, 340 carries for 1,653 rushing yards, 12 rushing touchdowns. He had a rushing long touchdown or long rushing yard of 86 rushing yards. That was the most. That was elite leading for the longest run in the league this year. 4.9 yards a carry, 97.2 yards a game, 53 receptions, 400 yards, 2,053 scrimmage yards. Again, won the rushing title and was the league leader in scrimmage yards. Fantastic. 3 fumbles, right? 5th in Offensive Player of the Year, first team All-Pro, Pro Bowler. I already said longest run in NFL this year. Rushing title, yards per game leader, and of course, again, leading scrimmage yard leader. So overall, he's had a great year, fantastic year. Surprised me for sure. Definitely with fantasy, I expected him to have another terrible year, and he disappointed me last year. And he just comes back and just, kind of tells me to kind of get a better read of fantasy, I guess. So obviously I don't know what I'm doing, but Josh Jacobs knows what he's doing, and he does it super well every Sunday. Underrated receiver and fantastic running back, man. Fast as hell, and has power to him, and he brings that Raider team, those Raider fans, something to cheer about, especially with their rebuilding and that division of it being dominated by the Chiefs. So overall, though, Josh Jacobs, well-deserved, top 3 running backs, definitely, and I hope he continues to bring it, and I hope he can get a better contract than he's gotten. Definitely well-deserved player, very fun to watch, and can't wait to see more of him next year. Number 2, Nick Chubb. This is probably one of my favorite players in the league, and that's tough to say, especially being a Ravens fan. I'm supposed to hate the Browns, right? And can't really hate the Browns when they're terrible, but this is an organization that is a rival of mine that I don't expect to, be rooting them on Sundays, right? But this is a player that I would love to see in a different uniform, right? But at the same time, I love watching him play. I love the way that he plays. I love the toughness, man. He brings that grittiness. He's a tough runner. I'm going to bring my lunch pail and I'm ready to clock in for this amount of time and I'm going to give you everything I got on the field and then I'm going to leave and I won't say anything. But I'll be back for practice. I'll be back to work and then do the same thing on Sunday and just continuously show that every single time consistently. It's hard, man, in sports and as an athlete, you get distracted. There's a bunch of things that happen and a lot of money involved, and you can get in your head. You can think of yourself as a high-headed, high-level person that's better than everyone, and he's got a good head in his shoulders. I like the guy. I think he carries himself well, and he's honestly just an entertaining back, man. I like tough power running backs, and he deserves a lot of money for sure, and I'm sure he will get it. But he's kind of towards that 30 age, so we'll see how it goes. He is 27. He's been in the league for 5 years now. 2 years, $23.05 million on his contract. Potential out in 2024. That'd be a $4 million dead cap for Cleveland. We'll see how it goes. I don't think they want to lose him, though. 17 games that he played and started. 302 carries for 1,525 rushing yards, 12 rushing touchdowns, 5 yards a carry, 89.7 yards a game, 27 receptions for 239 yards, 1 touchdown, 1,764 scrimmage yards, 1 fumble. All-Pro second team Pro Bowler. He's going to be an All-Pro as long as he can manage to do this. And like I said, he's just one of those quiet guys, but he brings it every Sunday. And you got to love a player like that as well. It's unique and it's rare. And, I mean, like I said, just an entertaining running back, man. He keeps going. He's got a motor. And he is Cleveland. He is the Browns organization. And he is by far one of the best running backs in the league. He's been doing it so consistently without being injured much, so I give it to him over some of these players in the top 5, some of these players in the top 10. Number 1, though, he's just, I had to put him there still, just because of the potential, the name, and the fact that he is so impactful. But Nick Chubb is right there, man. I wouldn't want to put him 2, I would want to put him 1A or 1B, right? It's just, he's up there, man. He's a great running back. He deserves to be number 2, and he's just fun to watch, man. We can't take this for granted right now. He's a player that we need to observe more, especially with them not being prime time as much. Number 1, his numbers dropped, but he was a 2,000-yard rusher, man, and his name says it himself. It's Derrick Henry. It's King Henry. It's the bulldozer, man. It's the 6'3", 220, 230-pound running back that shouldn't be a running back. It's scary how he runs downhill and makes it look effortlessly and makes those corners just, piss their pants. And that defense, no one wants to tackle him, He's just an overgrown, oversized Marshawn Lynch, right? And but he's also just, he's more, man. I mean, he can be a receiver if he wanted to, and like every running back in the NFL now, they need to be hybrids. They need to be dual running backs, especially with the passing game being much more centralized and much more popular, right? But overall, I mean, Derrick Henry should stay number 1. He's the best running back in the game. You always want him in fantasy. You always want him as part of your team, man, because he's going to bring those rushing yards, man. And even, if he's having a kind of up and down game, he's still giving you carries. He's still giving you yards, especially with that big body. When they tackle him, he's going to go forward. So overall, I mean, the impact he does, he is the Tennessee Titans. That offense is terrible without him. So they need him a lot, but he is aging, so that is another question, and that's going to bring other running backs to the top pretty soon. But he's number 1 right now from what he's done over the past span of 5 years. I mean, he deserves it, definitely. 29 years old, 7 years in the league, 1 year, $10.5 million left. We'll see what happens if they re-sign him or they let him go. They'll go to a different team, maybe a contending team. I have no idea, but definitely will be used a lot this year. 16 games that he played and started, 349 carries, the most carries in NFL this year. 1,538 rushing yards, 13 touchdowns, 4.4 yards a carry, 96.1 yards a game, 33 receptions for 398 yards, 1,936 scrimmage yards, 6 fumbles. So, fumbling issue, a little bit of an issue, but at the same time, it's Derrick Henry, man. He's still getting at it, and those numbers do not lie. He is a monster. He was ninth in the MVP voting. He was 12th in the Offensive Player of the Year voting, and he was ninth in the Comeback Player of the Year voting, and a Pro Bowler. Again, a guy you need, a guy that can suit up, and you know what he's going to give you. And scary, just a scared running back, man. I don't want to tackle him. I may not be like an athlete like in the NFL, but man, I mean, I don't think many want to tackle him. So overall, Derrick Henry, he should stay at the top. He is the king. And I mean, he just he's unique, man. He's another unique running back in this case, and I really hope he does not stay in Tennessee. I hope this could be the end, and they can move on, and he can go to a team that might utilize him better, and you know, bring a Super Bowl for him. Definitely deserves a Super Bowl, and yeah, just keep rolling, just keep doing Derrick Henry things. Monster guy and great football player.